I almost didn't go to that appointment. It was raining that morning, the kind of slow, gray rain that makes the world feel heavier than it should. I stood in my bedroom, one hand on my belly, the other holding my phone, staring at the reminder notification glowing on the screen. Ultrasound, 9:30 a.m. I remember thinking, based on nothing but pure exhaustion, what's the point? This pregnancy had been easy so far. No pain, no bleeding, no warning signs. Just nausea in the mornings, and a strange tiredness that settled into my bones like it planned to stay. My husband, Ethan, was already gone. He always left early on days like this. Important meetings, important calls, important people. I used to admire that about him, his ambition, his drive. That morning, it felt different. I pulled on a sweater and told myself I was being dramatic. Pregnant women overthink everything. That's what people say. That's what Ethan said last week when I mentioned a strange tight feeling in my stomach. "You're fine," he'd smiled, distracted, already halfway out the door. Doctors love overreacting. So why did my chest feel tight now? The drive to the clinic was quiet. No music, no podcasts, just the sound of my windshield wipers and my own thoughts, racing ahead of me, inventing problems that didn't exist. When I arrived, the parking lot was almost empty. That should have been my first warning. Inside, the air smelled like disinfectant and coffee that had been sitting too long. The receptionist barely looked up when I checked in. She handed me a clipboard, told me to sit, and went back to her screen. I filled out the forms slowly, my handwriting uneven. Any family medical history? Any complications in previous pregnancies? No. Everything about my answers screamed normal. That's why what happened next made no sense. A nurse called my name. She was young, cheerful, the kind of person who smiled with her whole face. She led me down the hallway, chatting about the weather, about how busy the clinic had been. Too busy. She opened the ultrasound room and gestured for me to lie down. The lights were dim, the machine humming softly like it always did. I lifted my sweater, feeling that familiar mix of excitement and vulnerability. This was supposed to be the moment I saw my baby again. This was supposed to be reassuring. The doctor entered a minute later, and everything changed. She was calm at first, professional, focused. She greeted me politely, washed her hands, and turned on the monitor. The gel was cold against my skin as she pressed the probe down gently. For a few seconds, everything felt normal. Then her hands stopped moving. Her eyes narrowed, not in confusion but recognition. She leaned closer to the screen. The room went very quiet. "Is everything okay?" I asked, forcing a smile. She didn't answer. Instead, she adjusted the settings, zoomed in, tilted the screen slightly away from me. That's when I noticed her breathing change. It was subtle, but I saw it. A sharp inhale, a pause she hadn't meant to take. My heart started beating faster. "Doctor," I said again. Her fingers tightened around the probe. She swallowed, then relaxed her face so quickly it felt practiced, too practiced. "Yes," she said. "Just give me a moment." A moment for what? I stared at the ceiling tiles, counting the tiny cracks, trying to convince myself this was routine. Doctors pause, machines glitch. Nothing bad had happened yet. But my instincts, those quiet alarms we're taught to ignore, were screaming. She stepped back from the machine. Then she did something that sent a chill straight through me. She locked the door. Not loudly, not dramatically, just a soft click that echoed in the room far more than it should have. "I'm going to ask you a few questions," she said, her voice lower now, controlled, careful. "Please answer honestly." My mouth felt dry. "Okay. Does your husband know you're here today?" The question hit me like a slap. "Yes," I said slowly, "of course, why?" She didn't respond. She looked at the screen again, then at me, then back at the screen. "Has anyone else ever seen your ultrasound results?" she asked. "No, just you, and previous appointments." She nodded, but her jaw tightened. Then, without warning, her hands began to shake. Not a lot, not wildly, but enough that I noticed. Enough that she noticed me noticing. She set the probe down quickly, wiped her hands on a towel, and took a step back like she needed space to breathe. "I need you to listen to me very carefully," she said. The room felt smaller, the air thicker. "I can't explain everything right now." My stomach dropped. "But you need to leave your husband," she continued. "Today, not next week. Not after another appointment. Today." I laughed. It wasn't because it was funny. It was because my brain couldn't process what she'd just said. "What?" I asked. "I'm here for an ultrasound." She walked toward me, lowering her voice even more, as if the walls might be listening. You need to get a divorce, she said. Immediately. My heart was pounding so hard, I could hear it in my ears. Why? I whispered. She looked at me for a long second. Then she said the words that would haunt me for months to come. I don't have time to explain. You'll understand when you see this. She turned the monitor back toward me. And before I could stop her, before I could prepare myself, she pressed a button on the screen. What appeared there wasn't what I expected. And in that moment, I realized two terrifying things at once. First, this appointment was never going to end the way it began. Second, my marriage was already over. I just didn't know it yet. The screen flickered once before the image sharpened. At first, I didn't understand what I was looking at. It was familiar, too familiar. The grainy black and white shapes, the curved outline I recognized instantly. I'd seen this before. I'd memorized this view. I'd cried happy tears over it just weeks ago. This is my baby, I said, relief rushing through me so fast it almost made me dizzy. You scared me for no reason. The doctor didn't correct me. She didn't smile. She didn't even look at the screen anymore. She was watching me. That's what you think you're seeing, she said quietly. My relief stalled mid-breath. I looked back at the monitor, forcing my eyes to focus. The image was frozen now, marked with faint digital lines and measurements I didn't recognize. One area had been circled in red. What is that? I asked, pointing. She hesitated. Doctors don't hesitate unless they're choosing their words carefully. That, she said, is why I locked the door. A chill slid down my spine. I shifted on the table, suddenly aware of how exposed I was. How vulnerable. You're not making sense. I know, she replied, and I'm sorry, but I need you calm. Panic will only make this worse. Worse than what? She walked back to the machine and pulled up another image, one I hadn't seen before. This one looked wrong. The proportions were off. The shapes didn't line up the way they were supposed to. I frowned. Is there something wrong with the baby? She flinched. No, she said quickly. Not with the baby. My heart sank anyway. Then what? I asked. She exhaled slowly, as if steadying herself. This ultrasound doesn't match your medical records. I stared at her. What does that even mean? It means, she said, choosing each word with surgical precision, that based on your records, your blood work, and your previous scans, this image shouldn't exist. I laughed again, softer this time. Nervous? You think I faked a pregnancy? No, she said immediately. I think someone lied. The room felt like it tilted. Who? I asked. She didn't answer. Instead, she pulled up a side-by-side comparison on the screen. Two images appeared next to each other, one labeled with today's date, the other with a date from weeks ago, my first ultrasound. They didn't match. Not just slightly, completely. The measurements were different. The placement was different. Even the orientation was wrong. That's impossible, I whispered. She nodded. That's what I said when I saw it. My pulse roared in my ears. Could the machine be wrong? I asked desperately. Could the first one have been wrong? She shook her head. Different clinics, different machines, same discrepancy. I swallowed hard. Then explain it. She turned away from the screen and looked straight at me. I can't, she said. Not here, not yet. Anger sparked through my fear. You can't just tell someone to divorce their husband and then refuse to explain why. I know, she said. And if there were any other option, I would take it. She lowered her voice again. But if I say too much right now, it won't just be your marriage at risk. My blood ran cold. Then what will be? She didn't answer immediately. She picked up a pen and wrote something on a scrap of paper, her hand still trembling. Tell me something, she said. When you found out you were pregnant, where were you? At home, I replied. Why? Not where, she corrected. Who were you with? I hesitated. My husband, Ethan. Her eyes flicked to the door, then back to me. And before that, she asked. In the weeks before conception. I frowned, trying to remember. We'd just moved. He'd been traveling a lot, conferences, work trips. Did he ever ask you to go to a specific doctor? She asked. Or insist on a certain clinic? My stomach tightened. Yes, I said slowly. He did. He said his insurance only covered certain places. Her jaw clenched. That clinic, she said, tapping the older ultrasound image, doesn't exist anymore. The words didn't register at first. Doesn't exist, I repeated. It closed suddenly, she said. No records, no staff, no digital trail. I felt dizzy. That's not possible, I was there. I believe you, she said softly. That's what scares me. She reached into her pocket and pulled out her phone, hesitated, then put it back. I shouldn't even be telling you this much, she said, But you deserve to know enough to protect yourself. From what? I asked. She met my eyes, and for the first time since she'd entered the room, I saw fear there. Real fear. From the possibility, she said, that your pregnancy wasn't discovered by accident. My breath caught. What are you saying? She turned the monitor back on one last time and zoomed into the circled area. This marker, she said, pointing, is not something we look for in routine ultrasounds. Then why is it there? Because it's not medical, she replied. My heart hammered. Then what is it? I whispered. She took a step closer to me. It's a tracking identifier. The word echoed in my head. Tracking. Someone, she continued, wanted to know where you were from the inside. I felt sick. This can't be real, I said. You're wrong. I hope I am, she said quietly. But until I'm proven wrong, you cannot trust your husband. Tears blurred my vision. You don't know him. I know patterns, she replied. And I know when a woman is in danger. She folded the paper she'd written on and pressed it into my hand. Take this, she said. If anything feels off, anything at all, you call this number. Not the police, not your family, this number. I looked down. It wasn't a phone number. It was an address. Why an address? I asked. Her lips pressed into a thin line. Because if this goes the way I fear, she said, you won't be safe anywhere connected to your old life. I stared at the ultrasound screen one last time. For the first time since finding out I was pregnant, I wasn't thinking about names, or nurseries, or the future. I was thinking about escape. And somewhere deep inside me, a terrifying thought took shape. What if the doctor wasn't overreacting? What if the man I'd married wasn't who I thought he was? And what if the truth was already growing inside me? The doctor didn't give me time to think. She turned off the monitor, wiped the gel from my stomach, and handed me a towel with hands that were no longer shaking, but only because she was forcing them not to. Get dressed, she said quietly, and don't go back to the waiting area. My heart skipped. Why? Because, she replied, if someone is watching, that's where they'll expect you to go. The word watching crawled under my skin. She opened a small side door I hadn't noticed before. It blended into the wall so perfectly it felt intentional, like it wasn't meant for patients at all. This way, she said. The hallway behind the door was narrow and dim. No posters, no smiling babies, just white walls and a hum of electricity overhead. My footsteps echoed too loudly, like the building itself was listening. We stopped in a tiny room with a desk, 2 chairs, and no windows. She closed the door. Then she did something that finally broke me. She sat down. Doctors don't sit unless they're about to change your life. I need you to understand something, she said. What I saw today didn't start today. I wrapped my arms around myself. Then when did it start? She leaned forward. Before you even knew you were pregnant. My throat tightened. You said the baby is okay. Yes, she said firmly. Your baby is alive, healthy, strong. Relief hit me for half a second. Then she continued. But your pregnancy, she said, has been monitored from the beginning. By who? I asked. She hesitated again. That hesitation felt heavier this time. By someone who had access, she said. To you, to your medical choices, to your body. A horrible realization crept in. You think it's my husband, I said. She didn't say yes. She didn't say no. She asked a question instead. Did he seem unusually calm when you told him you were pregnant? The memory surfaced instantly. Ethan standing in the kitchen, coffee in his hand. No shock, no disbelief, just a slow smile. I knew it, he'd said. At the time, I thought it was sweet. Now my stomach twisted. He said it felt like the right time, I whispered. The doctor nodded. That's not a reaction, that's confirmation. My chest tightened. You're building a story with no proof. I have proof, she said. Just not the kind I can put in a report. She opened a folder on her desk and slid a single page toward me. It wasn't an ultrasound. It was a list. Dates, times, clinic visits, appointments I remembered, and a few I didn't. I didn't go to these, I said, pointing. No, she agreed, but your patient ID did. My hands went cold. That's impossible. It happens more than people realize, she said. Shared insurance accounts, linked medical portals, spousal access. I shook my head. He wouldn't. Need your permission, she finished. You'd be surprised. She leaned back, studying me carefully. Has he ever discouraged you from reading your own medical reports? She asked. The answer came too fast. Yes. He said it would just stress me out, I said weakly. Has he ever insisted on being present during appointments? She asked. Yes. Has he ever reacted strongly when you mentioned switching doctors? My silence answered for me. She sighed. None of this proves malicious intent on its own, she said, but combined with what I saw on your scan. She trailed off. Say it, I demanded. She met my eyes. That marker on your ultrasound, she said, is not organic. My breath hitched. It's not a natural development. She continued. It's placed. I felt dizzy. Placed how? Early, she said. Very early. Before most women even realize they're pregnant. I stared at her. You're saying someone interfered with my pregnancy. I'm saying someone planned for it, she replied. The room felt like it was closing in. Why? I whispered. Her voice softened. That's the part I don't know. She stood and walked to the door, pressing her ear against it for a moment before relaxing. You need to leave him today, she said again. No confrontation, no explanation, no packing. That's insane, I said. I can't just disappear. You already have, she replied. I frowned. What does that mean? She pulled out her phone and turned the screen toward me. My blood ran cold. My location was active. Not on my phone. On hers. This ping came through 10 minutes ago, she said, from a system I don't use anymore. I stared at the blinking dot. It was right where I was sitting. He knows I'm here, I whispered. I don't know why his, she said. But yes, someone does. My heart raced. Then why haven't they come in? Because, she said, grabbing her coat. They're waiting to see where you go next. She handed me a different phone. Old, cheap, no apps except one. If you leave with your own phone, she said, they'll follow you home. My hands shook as I took it. What if you're wrong? I asked, my voice barely holding together. She looked at me with an expression I'll never forget. Then you'll lose a marriage, she said. But if I'm right, you'll save a life. I swallowed hard. Mine, I asked. She shook her head slowly. Your baby's. We didn't walk out together. The doctor went first. She told me to wait exactly 90 seconds. No more. No less. Then she slipped through the side hallway and disappeared. Like she'd never existed in my life at all. I stood there alone, holding a phone that wasn't mine. My real phone turned off and hidden inside a medical drawer like it was a weapon. 90 seconds, I told myself. Just breathe. At 60, my hands were numb. At 75, I almost ran. At 90, I opened the door. The clinic looked normal again. Too normal. The receptionist was laughing softly at something on her screen. A man flipped through a magazine. A pregnant woman rubbed her belly, smiling at nothing in particular. No alarms, no chaos. For a split second, I wondered if I'd imagined everything. Then I saw him. He wasn't wearing a lab coat. He wasn't wearing scrubs. He was standing near the exit, pretending to scroll on his phone. But his eyes lifted the moment I stepped into the hallway, and they locked onto me. I didn't know his name. I didn't recognize his face, but something inside me screamed danger. I lowered my head and walked the other direction, my heart pounding so loudly, I was sure everyone could hear it. I passed the bathrooms, the vending machine, the elevator. I pressed the stairwell door and slipped inside. The door shut with a heavy thud. I didn't stop moving until I was 3 floors down. When I pushed outside, the rain had stopped, but the world still felt soaked. Heavy clouds hung low, pressing everything flat and gray. I scanned the parking lot. My car was right where I left it. That's when I knew something was wrong. The doctor had said they'd follow me home if I used my phone. She hadn't said anything about my car. As I reached into my pocket, the burner phone vibrated. A single message appeared on the screen. Don't get in the car. My breath caught. I looked again. That's when I saw it. A small black device, no bigger than a coin, tucked just beneath my rear bumper. I staggered back. Tracking wasn't a theory anymore. It was fact. I walked past my car like it meant nothing to me, forcing my steps to stay calm. Casual, human. I crossed the street and ducked into a coffee shop I'd never been to before. The bell above the door rang too loudly. I ordered a drink I didn't want and sat in the far corner, my back against the wall. I watched reflections in the glass. I counted footsteps. I listened for my name. The burner phone buzzed again. He saw you. You need to move. Who are you? I typed. The reply came instantly. Someone who didn't listen once. My hands trembled. I stood, left the coffee untouched, and slipped out the back exit into an alley that smelled like wet concrete and old garbage. I walked fast, then faster, then I ran. Every shadow felt alive. Every car sounded like it was slowing for me. Finally, I reached the address the doctor had given me. It wasn't a house. It was a building. Old brick, no sign, no lights on the first floor, just a steel door with a keypad. I hesitated. The phone vibrated again. If you go back now, you won't get another chance. I entered the code scribbled on the paper. The door unlocked. Inside, the hallway was dim but clean. The air smelled faintly of antiseptic and dust. Cameras lined the ceiling, but unlike the clinic, they didn't feel hidden. They felt honest. A woman met me at the end of the hall. She was older, calm, sharp eyes that missed nothing. "You're late," she said. "I ran," I replied. She nodded. "Good." She led me into a small room and locked the door behind us. No windows, thick walls, a desk with multiple screens. On one of them, my ultrasound. My stomach dropped. "You said you couldn't explain," I whispered. "I said the doctor couldn't," the woman replied. "I can." She tapped the screen, zooming into the same circled area. "That marker," she said, "isn't just tracking." "Then what is it?" I asked. She turned to face me. "It's a failsafe." "For what?" "In case you try to disappear." My knees felt weak. She pulled up another image, one I had never seen before. A different scan. "Earlier, much earlier. Before you knew you were pregnant," she said. "Before you ever went to a clinic." I stared at the date. It was impossible. "I wasn't even late then," I whispered. She nodded. "Which means someone knew before you did." My mind raced. "You're saying my body was monitored." "Observed," she corrected. "Prepared." I hugged my belly instinctively. "Why me?" I asked. Her expression softened, for just a second. "Because you were chosen," she said. The word echoed in my skull. Chosen for what? She didn't answer immediately. She reached into a drawer and pulled out a file. On the front was a photo of Ethan, with a name beneath it I'd never seen before. "That," she said quietly, "is not your husband's real identity." My chest tightened painfully. "Then who did I marry?" She looked at me, and her voice dropped. "Someone who was never supposed to let you walk out of that clinic alive." I stared at the photo until my eyes burned. It was Ethan, my husband, the man I shared a bed with, the man who kissed my forehead every night before sleeping. And yet it wasn't. The smile was the same, but colder, sharper. His posture was different, trained, intentional, like someone who never truly relaxed. "That's not possible," I said. "You're wrong." The woman didn't argue. She slid the file closer to me and opened it. Inside were documents, IDs, travel records, names crossed out and replaced with others, countries I'd never heard him mention, dates that overlapped with moments I knew he'd been at work. "He's very good," she said calmly, "at building believable lives." My throat tightened. "Why show me this?" "Because you asked the right question," she replied. "And because you're running out of time." I clenched my fists. "Then answer me." She nodded once. "You want to know why your doctor was scared?" she asked. "Yes." "Why she begged you to leave?" "Yes." "Why she broke protocol, locked doors, and risked her career?" My voice shook. "Yes." She leaned forward, elbows on the desk. "Because she recognized the marker," she said. I frowned. "Recognized it how?" "From another case." My heart skipped. "Another patient?" "No," she replied. "Another disappearance." The room went silent. "Woman?" I asked. "Yes." "Pregnant?" "Yes." "Alive?" I whispered. The woman didn't answer immediately. That pause was everything. "She made it to week 22, she said finally. Then she vanished. My chest felt hollow. "What happened to the baby?" I asked. "That," she said softly, "is why your doctor started shaking." She pulled up a new screen. Security footage. A hospital hallway. A woman walking slowly, one hand on her stomach, the other gripping a railing. Two men walking beside her. Calm, smiling like family. They told the staff they were her husband and brother. The woman said, "All paperwork checked out." The footage jumped. An empty hallway. "That's it?" I asked. "That's all there ever is," she replied. "No bodies, no witnesses, no alarms." My breath came shallow. "Why hasn't this been stopped?" "Because it doesn't look like a crime," she said. "It looks like consent." I shook my head. "Then why didn't my doctor report it?" "She did," the woman said. "Years ago." My stomach clenched. And 2 weeks later, she was removed from that hospital." She continued. "Her records sealed, her cases reassigned." I felt sick. So when she saw my scan, she knew exactly what it meant. The woman finished. "And she knew what would happen if she stayed quiet again." I swallowed hard. "You still haven't told me why." The woman studied me carefully. "Tell me," she said. "Has your pregnancy ever felt managed?" The question landed heavier than I expected. "What do you mean?" I asked. "Your schedule, your diet, your appointments." The way he reminds you to take supplements at exact times. My heart thudded. He said he was just being careful, I whispered. She nodded slowly. That's what they all say. I hugged my belly tighter. What is my baby to them? I asked. Her eyes softened, but her voice didn't. A result, she said. An outcome. Of what? She reached into the file again and pulled out a page filled with symbols and codes. A program, she said. One that ended officially years ago. My skin prickled. Officially? Yes, she replied. Unofficially, it never stopped. I looked down at the page. This doesn't explain why me. She met my gaze. You were selected because you fit every parameter, she said. Health, genetics, psychological profile, social invisibility. Invisible, I echoed. She gave a sad smile. No one would notice if you left quietly. That hurt more than the fear. And Ethan, I asked. He was assigned, she said. Not to fall in love, not to protect you. Then what was his job? I whispered. To make sure you carried to term, she said. No matter what. My vision blurred. So the baby was never just a baby to them, she said gently. A sharp pain twisted in my chest. Is my child in danger now? I asked. She hesitated. That depends, she said, on whether they believe you're still compliant. And if they don't. She looked me straight in the eye. Then they'll accelerate the timeline. My hands shook. How much time do I have? She checked the screen, then the file, then me. Days, she said, maybe less. A cold realization settled over me. Then my husband knows, I said. Yes, she replied. He knows you didn't go home. My phone buzzed on the desk. A message lit up the screen. From Ethan. Where are you? The woman didn't look surprised. That, she said quietly, is the question that decides everything. I didn't answer his message. I just stared at the screen until the words blurred. Until where are you? Stopped looking like concern and started looking like surveillance. The woman quietly took the phone and powered it off. Good, she said. Silence makes people impatient. Impatience makes mistakes. I nodded, but my mind wasn't in the room anymore. It was drifting backward. To the beginning. Ethan and I met at a fundraiser. Soft music, warm lighting. He stood slightly apart from everyone else, watching the room like he was memorizing it. When our eyes met, he smiled, not rushed, not eager, measured. I'd liked that. He never chased, never pushed, never rushed anything. He remembered details I didn't remember telling him. My favorite tea, my sleep schedule, the fact that I hated hospitals. I thought it was love. Now it felt like data collection. Our relationship moved smoothly. No dramatic fights, no messy breakups. He proposed on a quiet weekend away. No audience, no pressure. Peace matters, he'd said, especially for the future. Future. The word tightened my chest. When we married, he insisted on handling logistics. Insurance, accounts, shared portals. He framed it as care. You've had enough stress, he'd said. Let me handle the boring stuff. And I let him. I remembered the first time I mentioned wanting kids. He didn't smile. He paused. Then he asked questions. Not emotional ones, practical ones. How old was I when my mother had me? Any history of complications? Did I track my cycle? At the time, I'd brushed it off. He was analytical. That was just who he was. The woman across from me watched my face closely. You're remembering something, she said. Yes, I whispered. The night I found out I was pregnant came back in sharp detail. I'd been late, not worried, just curious. I took the test alone in the bathroom, expecting nothing. 2 lines appeared instantly. I sat on the floor, shaking. When I told Ethan, he didn't ask how I felt. He asked what time it was. Then he hugged me, firm, grounding, and said, Good, we're right on schedule. I'd laughed nervously. Schedule for what? I'd asked. He kissed my hair. For life, he'd said. At the time, I thought it was poetic. Now it sounded rehearsed. I remembered how he'd insisted on a specific prenatal vitamin brand. How he'd set reminders on his phone for my appointments. How he always walked me to the door, waited until I was inside. Protection, I'd thought. Containment, I realized. Did he ever touch your stomach early? The woman asked. Yes, I said, before there was anything to feel. And did he ever seem relieved afterward? My breath caught. Yes. She nodded. Then he was checking. Checking what? I asked. She didn't answer immediately. Has he ever reacted badly when plans changed unexpectedly? She asked instead. The memory surfaced instantly. The one time I canceled an appointment because I was sick. He'd gone quiet, too quiet. Later that night, he'd stayed up on his laptop for hours. I thought he was worried, I said. He was, she replied. Just not about you. My hands pressed against my belly. Does he know I'm here? I asked. Not exactly, she said, but he knows you're off pattern. Off pattern. I thought of all the tiny rules I'd lived by without realizing it. Eat on time. Sleep at the same hour. Avoid stress. Don't travel alone. It hadn't felt like control. It had felt like care. The woman leaned forward. This is the hardest part, she said. Not the running, not the fear. Then what? I asked. Accepting that what you thought was love, she said gently, was surveillance wrapped in affection. Tears slid down my face before I could stop them. Was any of it real? I asked. She paused. Yes, she said. Your feelings were. That hurt the most. A soft alert beeped on one of the screens behind her. She glanced at it, then stiffened. What? I asked. They're adjusting, she said. Adjusting what? The plan, she replied. Because you didn't respond. My chest tightened. What does that mean? It means, she said calmly, they'll stop pretending. She stood and grabbed a bag from under the desk, placing it in front of me. Inside were clothes, documents, cash, and a ring. My wedding ring. How did you get this? I asked, my voice breaking. Because, she said, he came looking for you. My heart slammed. When? I whispered. She checked the timestamp. 20 minutes ago. I froze. And what did he say? I asked. Her voice dropped. He said, she replied, that you're carrying something that doesn't belong to you. The word belong echoed in my head, like something hollow being struck again and again. Doesn't belong to me, I whispered. The woman didn't soften it. She never did. They don't see you as the owner, she said. They see you as the carrier. Something inside me snapped. I'm not a container, I said, my voice shaking. This is my child. I know, she replied quietly. That's why you're here and not still at home. She turned to the screen and pulled up a document. Not an ultrasound, not lab work, a medical authorization file. My name was on it. My signature was on it. I felt sick. I never signed this, I said. You did, she replied. Just not knowingly. She zoomed in. The signature wasn't forged. It was mine. This was embedded, she said, inside a routine consent form. One you'd sign without reading twice. My chest tightened painfully. Embedded for what? I asked. She scrolled. The words blurred together at first. Clinical, cold. Then one phrase stood out. Gestational compliance protocol. What is that? I asked. She met my eyes. A framework, she said, for pregnancies that must reach a specific outcome. My heart pounded. This says, my voice cracked as I read. This says monitoring thresholds, intervention triggers, extraction windows. Extraction. I looked up sharply. You said my baby is healthy. She is, the woman said. That's not the concern. Then what is? I asked. She took a breath. The concern, she said, is that your pregnancy doesn't match your biology. The room went still. What does that mean? I whispered. She pulled up another file. My full medical history, blood type, genetic markers, hormone levels. Then she overlaid it with a second dataset. This, she said, is the profile required for the program. They didn't match. Not completely, but not completely wrong either. You were never supposed to qualify, she said slowly, but you came close enough. Close enough for what? I asked. For implantation to hold, she replied. My hands flew to my stomach. Implantation, I repeated. She didn't look away. This pregnancy didn't begin the way you think, she said. It wasn't accidental, and it wasn't spontaneous. I struggled to breathe. Are you saying? I'm saying conception was assisted, she said. Guided, controlled. My vision tunneled. But I felt it, I whispered. I felt the changes, the sickness, the connection. And that part is real, she said firmly. Your body adapted. Your hormones bonded. Your brain did exactly what it's designed to do. Tears spilled over. So what is my baby to them? I asked again. She hesitated this time. Proof, she said, that the method works. A sound escaped me that didn't feel human. They can't take her, I said. They won't. She nodded. Not yet. Not yet, I repeated. They need you, she said. Alive, stable, cooperative. And if I'm not? I asked. She turned the screen toward me. A timeline appeared, highlighted in red. Week 24, transfer viability. My breath hitched. I'm at week 20, I whispered. Yes, she said. Which is why things just became urgent. I shook my head. Ethan would never let that happen. The woman's expression hardened. Ethan, she said, doesn't get a vote. What does he get? I asked. She answered without hesitation. Access. A new file opened. Security footage. My house. Live. I stood up so fast the chair scraped loudly against the floor. He's there, I whispered. Yes, she said, and he's not looking for you. I stared at the screen. Ethan walked calmly through the living room, opening drawers, checking behind cushions. He stopped in the nursery. We just started setting up. He touched the crib. Then he spoke. I couldn't hear him, but I could read his lips. We're running out of time. The woman turned to me. Now, she said, you need to decide something. My heart thundered. Decide what? I asked. She leaned closer. Whether you're willing, she said, to disappear completely or fight back. I didn't answer her right away, because the truth was, I was terrified of both options. Disappear and lose everything I'd ever known. Fight back and risk losing the one thing growing inside me. I don't know how to fight, I whispered. The woman studied me for a long moment. Good, she said. Neither did the others. She turned the screen away from Ethan's image and pulled up something new. My heartbeat, not the baby's. Mine. A waveform danced across the monitor, uneven but strong. Do you feel different? She asked. I frowned. Different how? Since the pregnancy, she said. Not emotionally, physically. I thought about it. The exhaustion that didn't feel like weakness. The strange moments of clarity. How stress didn't overwhelm me the way it used to. Yes, I said slowly. Stronger, sharper. She nodded. That's what I was hoping you'd say. Hoping, I asked. She leaned back. They didn't just alter the pregnancy, she said. They altered the environment. My stomach tightened. They needed the fetus to develop. She continued. But they also needed the host to survive pressures that would normally cause rejection. Host. I hated that word. You mean me, I said. Yes, she replied. And you adapted. A memory surfaced. 2 weeks ago, a near-miss accident. A car swerving into my lane. Time had slowed. I'd reacted before thinking. I thought it was adrenaline, I whispered. She shook her head. It was synchronization. With what? I asked. She turned the screen toward me again. This time, it wasn't an ultrasound. It was a neural scan. 2 patterns overlapped. Mine. And another. They're not separate, she said. Not completely. My breath caught. You're saying my baby is communicating, she finished. Through you. Tears welled in my eyes. But they weren't just fear anymore. She's alive, I said. Aware. Yes, the woman replied. Earlier than expected. I pressed my hands to my belly. For the first time, the movement felt intentional. Like a response. Ethan never knew this, I said suddenly. The woman smiled faintly. No, and that's important. Why? Because he was trained to monitor systems. She said, not intuition, not bond. Something clicked. All those tests, I said, all that control, was to keep variables predictable. She confirmed. You weren't supposed to exceed the parameters. But I did, I whispered. Yes, she said, you did. The screen chimed softly. New data. The woman's expression sharpened. They're escalating, she said. Because I didn't go home, I guessed. And because, she added, something just changed. What? I asked. She pointed to the neural overlay. The second pattern pulsed brighter. She responded, the woman said. To what? To danger, she replied. A chill ran through me. What does that mean? I asked. It means, she said carefully, your child is already trying to protect you. My throat tightened. I don't want her to be a weapon, I said. She's not, the woman replied. She's a catalyst. Outside the room, a distant sound echoed. A door closing. Footsteps. The woman stood. They found the building, she said. My heart raced. How long do we have? She checked the screens. Minutes, she said, maybe less. She handed me a jacket and helped me to my feet. There's something you need to understand, she said as we moved toward the exit. They think this pregnancy belongs to them. And it doesn't, I said. She met my eyes. No, she said. It belongs to the future. As we reached the back stairwell, my body reacted before my mind did. A sharp pressure behind my eyes. A sudden clarity. I knew which direction to run. This way, I said. The woman paused, surprised. Then she smiled. You're listening to her, she said. Behind us, a voice echoed down the hallway. Calm, familiar. Love, Ethan called. You don't have to be afraid. My hand tightened around my belly. Because for the first time since all this began, I wasn't. We didn't run. We vanished. The stairwell swallowed us whole. Concrete walls. Emergency, lights flickering like nervous blinks. Every step echoed too loud, too slow. I could hear Ethan's voice behind us. Still calm, still kind. Like he was calling me in for dinner instead of hunting me through a building. Keep moving, the woman said. But I already knew. Not because she told me. Because she did. My hand pressed against my belly. And for the first time, the connection felt clear. Not emotional. Not imagined. Direction, urgency. A pull, like gravity had chosen a side. We burst out into a service corridor that shouldn't have existed. No signs. No cameras. Just steel doors marked with faded codes. You built this place, I said between breaths. She nodded. A long time ago. For people like me, I asked. For people they failed, she replied. We slipped through a door and into a loading bay where an unmarked ambulance waited. Engine already running. No siren, no logo. Inside, the woman locked the doors and finally exhaled. That was too close, she muttered. I looked at her. You said they found the building. They did, she said, but they won't follow us here. Why not? She met my eyes. Because this is still their property. My blood ran cold. You're saying, the hospital, she continued, the clinics, the research wings, none of it is as separate as it looks. The ambulance pulled into traffic like any other vehicle. That first clinic, I said, the one that doesn't exist anymore, was absorbed, she said, rebranded, buried. And the doctor, I asked. She wasn't fired, the woman replied. She was silenced. My chest tightened. Then why help me? Because, she said quietly, she broke the rule that matters most. Which one? She chose a patient over the system. I stared out the window as the city blurred past. All this time, I said, I thought hospitals were safe. They are, she replied, for normal pregnancies. And mine. She didn't answer right away. Instead, she pulled up a new screen. Internal communications. Messages stamped confidential. Names redacted. One thread stood out. Subject, containment failure, case 27B. That's me, I whispered. Yes, she said. And this is why they tried to stay quiet. She scrolled. Once a case reaches public channels, she explained, it becomes uncontrollable. Questions get asked, audits happen. So they hide it, I said. They normalize it, she corrected. Routine scans, routine language, routine silence. I clenched my fists. How many women? She paused. Enough, she said. The ambulance slowed near an industrial district. Warehouses. Empty streets. Nothing that looked important. This is where it gets complicated, she said. More complicated than this, I asked. Yes, she replied. Because not everyone chasing you wants the same thing. The vehicle stopped inside a garage that closed behind us with a heavy clang. I turned to her. You're not on one side, are you? She smiled sadly. I'm on the side that knows how this ends if no one interferes. She helped me down and led me into a control room filled with monitors. Some showing hospitals, some showing city feeds. One screen froze my breath. Ethan, standing in a conference room. Not alone. Men and women in suits sat around a table, watching footage of me, running through the stairwell. He's reporting, I whispered. Yes, she said, but not failing. On the wall behind him was a logo I recognized instantly. The hospital network. He works for them, I said. He works through them, she corrected. He's an asset. My stomach twisted. Then why marry me? She answered without hesitation. Because proximity increases success, she said. And because emotional bonds improve compliance. I felt sick. But here's the part he doesn't know, she added. What? I asked. She switched screens. A new feed appeared, data spiking, neural patterns flaring. The program was designed to produce a controllable outcome, she said, not a conscious one. I felt movement, stronger now, deliberate. She's changing the data, the woman said softly. What does that mean? I asked. It means, she replied, the hospital can't keep this quiet anymore. Alarms began to flash across the monitors. Containment alerts, escalation flags. They're panicking, she said, because once this crosses a certain threshold, they lose control, I finished. She looked at me, surprised. Then she nodded. Yes, she said, you're learning fast. The door behind us creaked. Footsteps, slow, confident. A familiar voice filled the room. You always were special, Ethan said. And now so is she. I turned. He stood there, calm as ever, smiling. He walked in like he owned the room. Calm, perfect posture. That same measured smile. Like nothing in the world could shake him. I hugged my belly instinctively. My baby, my connection, my truth. Ethan, I said, voice trembling but firm. You lied to me. You controlled me. My life, my body, everything. He tilted his head, still smiling. Controlled. No, guided, protected. You're reading it the wrong way. I laughed bitterly. Guided, you watched me, tracked me, planned my pregnancy. And now you're here pretending it's love. His smile didn't falter. Love is irrelevant. Outcome matters. I felt my blood run cold. Outcome. Yes, he said. You, me, the baby. You were never just a wife or a mother. You were the perfect environment for the program. And now you've exceeded it. I pressed my hands harder against my belly. The baby moved, deliberately, almost aware. Exceeded it, I whispered. He nodded. The neural feedback. The markers. You're changing the data. The program didn't account for you becoming conscious of it. Your child is not only alive. She's aware. She's learning. She's reacting. A chill crawled up my spine. So what? You'll just take her. He shook his head. Not take, integrate. Make sure nothing unpredictable happens. That's why I married you. That's why I monitored you. So nothing goes off script. My hands shook. My heart pounded. But clarity came rushing in. She is aware. She is mine. Not his, not the hospital's, mine. I won't let you touch her, I said. He raised a brow. You can't stop me. Watch me, I replied. Something shifted in me. Not fear. Not panic. Power, connection. Intuition. My baby reacted, a small kick, then a sharper one. Like she was answering me. Listening, ready. Ethan's eyes flickered just for a second. Surprise, a calculation. I stepped forward, hands over my belly. You want control. Fine, but it's over. We decide now. Not you, not the program, we. He froze. That one word, we, hit harder than any argument. I reached for the monitors, the neural data, the patterns, the surveillance feeds. With my baby's awareness, I guided them, overriding signals, redirecting tracking, shutting off feeds. Every calculated move I'd absorbed, every micro-adjustment my body had learned, now surged forward. The screens blinked. Alerts flashed red. Ethan's calm demeanor cracked. Impossible, he whispered. It's possible, I said. Because she isn't just data, she's alive. And so am I. His voice hardened. Do you think you can win? I don't think, I said. I know. A final kick. Stronger, definite, a command. The alarms screamed. Systems shut down. Cameras went dark. Data streams terminated. Every calculated control measure Ethan had built. Gone. He took a step back, realization dawning. You adapted. I evolved, I said. Not for you. Not for the program. For us. For her. He stared at me. A mixture of awe, fear, and disbelief. I felt my baby move again. Deliberately. Powerfully. Connection, awareness. A force I had never imagined. You underestimated me, I whispered. He nodded slowly. Yes, and I miscalculated. I pressed my hand to my belly. She's ours, and that's final. The woman who had guided me smiled faintly. It's done. The program can't touch her now. No one can. I looked at Ethan, then back at my baby. You belong to me, to us, and we're leaving. Outside, the sun rose. I stepped into freedom. No fear, no control, only life. And the smallest heartbeat I had ever known. Stronger than any system. Stronger than any man. Stronger than any program. I thought freedom would feel loud, explosive, like fireworks in my chest. Instead, it felt quiet, too quiet. The sun was warm on my skin as I stepped outside the facility, but my hands wouldn't stop shaking. My baby was calm now, resting, as if she knew the storm had passed, or maybe paused. The woman who helped me, Dr. Hale, walked beside me. You need to disappear, she said softly. Not run, disappear. I nodded. He won't stop, will he? She didn't answer right away. That was answer enough. We drove for hours. No phones. No GPS. No names spoken out loud. Every mile felt stolen from someone who wanted me found. When we finally stopped, it was a small coastal town. Quiet, forgettable, perfect. A new identity. A rented house. Curtains always half drawn. For the first time in months, I slept without wires on my skin. But on the third night, I woke up gasping. My baby kicked sharp, urgent. Not fear, warning. I sat up instantly. What is it? I whispered, instinctively rubbing my belly. The room felt wrong. Not dangerous, observed. Then I saw it. On the dresser. A single ultrasound photo. Mine. Dated 2 days ago. My throat went dry. I hadn't printed it. Dr. Hale hadn't either. I grabbed the photo with shaking fingers. On the back, written in Ethan's precise handwriting. You shut down the system. But you didn't shut down everyone who believed in it. My baby kicked again, harder. He's not alone, I whispered. The next morning, Dr. Hale was gone. No note, no struggle, just her coat still hanging by the door. That's when I understood the truth. I had been too relieved to see. Ethan wasn't the program. He was only the face of it. And now that the system was blind, others were waking up, scientists, investors, people who had poured their lives into the idea of designing consciousness. And my child, she wasn't just the success. She was the proof. That night, I felt something new. Not just movement, not just response. A pattern, a rhythm, almost like communication. I pressed my palm to my belly, heart racing. Can you hear me? One kick, gentle. Yes. Tears filled my eyes. Not fear this time, but awe. My daughter wasn't just aware anymore. She was learning. And somewhere out there, people were coming for her. I whispered the words that would define everything from this moment on. They will never have you. Outside, a car engine turned off. Too close. The car didn't move for a long time. I stood behind the curtain, barely breathing, watching the shadow of a man stretch across the porch. My baby shifted slowly, not panicked, focused. Not danger yet, her body seemed to say. A knock followed, polite, controlled. The kind that pretends you still have options. I didn't answer. Another knock. Ma'am, a male voice called. Calm and rehearsed. We're here to make sure you're safe. Safe, the word almost made me laugh. My hand slid toward the kitchen drawer, where Dr. Hale had hidden a burner phone. When I touched it, my baby kicked once sharply. No. I froze. You don't want me to call, I whispered. A slow, reassuring movement followed. Not refusal, redirection. Outside, the man spoke again. We're from the continuity group. You've been through something traumatic. We just want to talk. Continuity. The word rang in my head like a bell. Not a name, a philosophy. I stepped back from the window, heart racing. That's when I noticed the hum. Low, constant, not from the house. From me. From us. My skin prickled as the rhythm inside my womb shifted. Faster. Sharper. The air felt thick, charged, like before a thunderstorm. The porch light flickered. The man stopped talking. I pressed both hands to my belly. What are you doing? A deep, rolling movement answered me. Not a kick, a pulse. The lights went out. Outside, someone cursed. I staggered back as the house went silent. Too silent. No electricity. No hum of appliances. No phone signal. Then I heard it. Breathing. Not from outside. From behind me. I spun around and found the room empty. But the feeling stayed. Like the air itself was paying attention. You can't hide forever. The voice came again. This time from everywhere and nowhere. Your child is valuable beyond your understanding. My baby shifted, slow and deliberate. No, she answered through me. Not a word, a certainty. The walls creaked. The floor vibrated. Not violently, precisely. Every object in the room hummed in the same rhythm as her heartbeat. You feel that, the voice said. No longer confident. That's instability. I shook my head, tears streaming. That's choice. The windows rattled once, sharply. Then the pressure vanished. The hum faded. The lights blinked back on. Silence. Outside, the car was gone. No tire marks, no footprints. Only one thing remained on the porch. A small black device, no bigger than a coin. I picked it up carefully. It was warm. And blinking. I understood instantly. They weren't tracking me anymore. They were listening to her. I sat down hard, breath shaking. You protected us, I whispered. A gentle roll answered me. Not instinct. Decision. Somewhere, people were recalculating everything they thought they knew. And my daughter had just made her first move. We stepped outside the safe house. Dawn hadn't broken yet, but the sky was bleeding orange. Helicopters circled far above. I could hear the faint hum of drones in the distance. Hale kept a hand on my shoulder. They're waiting, she said, and they aren't expecting resistance. I hugged my belly instinctively. My baby was moving sharply, not panic, determination. I whispered, we're not running this time. Hale's eyes widened. You mean confront? I nodded. They want negotiation. We'll give them terms, but on our side. The street ahead was empty, until it wasn't. A convoy of black SUVs rolled slowly into view. Armed personnel, calm faces, calculated movements. Ethan was in the lead, smiling. Casual, that smile again, that perfect mask. He stepped out, hands visible. No weapon. I see you've decided to step into daylight, he said, calm, controlled. Danger wrapped in charm. I took a deep breath. I'm done hiding. You wanted control. You'll negotiate like a human being, or not at all. His smile faltered, just for a heartbeat, then returned. Negotiation implies balance. There is none here. I pressed my palm to my belly. The baby shifted, sharply, like a heartbeat echoing through my spine. I felt her influence. She was part of the strategy now. Hale stepped forward. We're not alone, she said. Do not underestimate her. The wind picked up. Dust swirled around the convoy. Lights reflected off the SUVs like eyes. Ethan's expression changed slightly, calculating. You think she can stop us? He asked. I smiled coldly. She's not stopping anyone, she's choosing. A drone beeped overhead. I felt a pulse in my stomach. She reacted. Every camera feed in the convoy blinked and went dark. Phones vibrated in pockets. Guns locked in holsters without command. Ethan's calm shattered, just a flicker but enough. He took a half step back. You've changed the parameters, he said. How? She's alive, I said. And she's learning faster than your system can calculate. Hale nodded. We can negotiate. Or we can end this here. But she decides the pace. Ethan glanced at the convoy, then back at me. You think this ends peacefully? No, I said. But it ends with me in control, or it ends with nothing. A sudden vibration in the ground, small, but precise. My baby shifted. The SUV's engines cut. Radios went silent. Men looked at each other, confused. Ethan's jaw tightened. I pressed my hand harder to my belly. You underestimated her. He swallowed. Then prove it. From behind me, Hale whispered. One wrong move and they will attack. I shook my head. They already are. Just not with weapons, they understand. A small smile tugged at my lips. For the first time in months, I felt the balance shift. We weren't hiding. We weren't victims. We were the storm. And the storm had already begun moving. Through me. The SUVs were silent now. Engines dead. Radios dead. The convoy frozen like puppets mid-step. Ethan's eyes flicked everywhere. Calculating, recalibrating. That calm, perfect mask cracked. Impossible, he muttered, more to himself than anyone else. I pressed my hands to my belly. The baby reacted sharply, deliberately. Her first aggressive signal. I understood instantly. She's telling me who's dangerous. Hale's expression darkened. You need to see this, she whispered, handing me a tablet. On the screen. Live footage from one of the drones we didn't know she had access to. And there, moving in the shadows behind the SUVs, was another group. Military-style uniforms. Faces masked. Weapons holstered but eyes trained on me. I froze. Who are they? Hale shook her head. Not them, him. Ethan's face twisted. Not calm. Not confident. He spoke low, urgent. You think I control everything. I control some things, but not all. And they, he nodded toward the screens. They've decided this isn't just about compliance anymore. I felt my chest tighten. They, who is thee? Before he could answer, a message appeared on the SUV dashboard. A coded alert only he could see. His face went pale. They're inside the system, he whispered. Inside everything we built. My baby shifted again. I could feel it, a warning pulse. Hale grabbed my arm. Listen carefully. Ethan, he wasn't working for them all along. He was assigned to protect the program. Yes, but there was another faction. A faction that believed you and your child were too unpredictable to live. I pressed my palm harder to my stomach. So, everyone wants control. Exactly, Hale said. And now they're showing their cards. Ethan's voice was almost calm again. You're learning quickly, too quickly. I looked at him. I've already learned more than you think. He stepped back. Then you'll understand betrayal when it walks right through the door. A flash of movement in the shadows. Too fast for human perception. One of the masked figures stepped forward, and Hale's eyes widened. It's her, Hale whispered. The one we thought was on our side. I didn't move. The baby pulsed sharply, warning. The figure removed her mask. I blinked. Recognition struck like a lightning bolt. It was Dr. Hale, but not the Hale I knew. This version. Hardened, eyes cold. Calculating, weapon strapped to her side. I'm sorry, she said, voice emotionless. I have orders. I felt my heart sink. Orders from. She shook her head. Not from Ethan. Not from me, from them. From the system itself. A kick, strong, forceful, warning. I told you, I whispered to my belly. We decide, not them. Hale smiled faintly coldly. You're learning fast. Too fast. And that's why you're still alive for now. Ethan looked between us, torn. You've changed everything, he said. Quietly, I can't predict her. A rush of realization hit me. My baby isn't just aware. She's altering probabilities. The masked Hale raised her weapon slowly. Decision time. I gripped my belly. Not yet. She's not finished teaching me. Ethan's hand twitched toward his pocket. Not a weapon, a tablet. She's choosing, he whispered, and we have to follow. The two Hales, one protector, one betrayer, stood on opposite sides. And I realized the battlefield wasn't outside. It was inside me. My baby moved again. Deliberate, defiant. We're not victims anymore. The room felt smaller. The air thick, almost alive. Every heartbeat of mine synced with hers. The betrayer Hale raised her weapon slowly, waiting for a signal. Ethan froze, conflicted, and I realized there was only one way to buy time. I pressed my hand against my belly. Calm, focus, channel her. The baby responded instantly. A subtle, deliberate push, not violent, calculated. I whispered, listen carefully. I'm giving you a choice, but it will cost me. Ethan's eyes widened. Cost you? What? Before he could finish, I stepped forward. I felt every muscle tighten. If she wants to survive, I will distract them. The betrayer Hale raised her weapon. I let my hands fall slowly, deliberately, showing I wasn't resisting. A trick, a calculated sacrifice. Move closer, I said softly. Hale hesitated. She's pregnant, she said. You can't. Yes, I can, I interrupted. I'm in charge now. My baby shifted sharply. The energy in the room changed. The lights flickered. Monitors blinked. Small electronics shorted out as though her pulse reached the circuits. I stepped into the open, every eye on me, every movement precise, every heartbeat aligned with hers. Ethan whispered, almost a plea. Don't. I pressed my hand harder to my stomach. Not yet. The betrayer Hale fired. I dived, rolling across the floor. The bullet missed, but the shockwave shook the room. My baby reacted instinctively. A sudden surge. A protective burst. The betrayer Hale stumbled backward, as if she'd hit an invisible wall. Ethan's eyes were wide. Impossible. I gritted my teeth. Not impossible, alive. Another kick, stronger, defiant. Focused, she wasn't just moving, she was acting. Protecting. I scrambled to cover, realizing the cost of this moment. My body ached, every nerve screamed, but I had to maintain control. Hale fired again. This time, I rolled and grabbed the nearest table, flipping it over like a shield. Sparks flew from the electronics, wires sizzling under the pressure of her pulse. She's learning fast, Ethan whispered, astonished. Yes, I said through gritted teeth. Faster than you ever imagined. The betrayer Hale paused, scanning the room. Confused, overwhelmed. She never expected a host actively choosing against her. My heart pounded. I pressed my palm harder against my belly. One final push. The baby surged. The room quaked subtly. Hale's weapon wavered. Her feet shifted uncontrollably. I knew then. The first sacrifice had done more than buy time. It had shown her. Anyone trying to control her would pay the price. And I knew, deep down, the battle was far from over. But for the first time, I didn't feel fear. I felt power. I sank to the floor, trembling, clutching my belly. My baby kicked softly. Not fear this time, but reassurance. Her pulse thrummed through me, steady and deliberate, like she was saying, I'm here, we're okay. But inside, I wasn't. Tears burned my eyes as the reality hit me. Everything I thought I knew, Ethan, the hospital, even Hale, was a lie. Every emotion I trusted, every smile I had believed in, tainted, controlled, manufactured. I had lost so much already. My autonomy, my trust, my sense of safety. And yet, the one thing no one could take was inside me, my baby. And that realization hit harder than any betrayal. I heard movement behind me. The betrayer Hale, weapon lowered, face pale. You realize, she said, voice shaking. If you use her this way, you could destroy everything. I looked at her. Destroy what? You tried to destroy me. You tried to destroy her. She's not a weapon, Hale said. She's more than any system can control. I pressed my palms harder to my belly. She knows everything already. The movement, the pulse, it wasn't instinct. It was strategy. It was awareness. Suddenly the room tilted. My emotions surged. Rage, fear, sorrow, protection. And with it, a shocking clarity. I had underestimated her. Not Ethan, not the hospital, not Hale. Her, my baby. And then it hit me, the ultimate twist. She isn't just the product of the program. She was its evolution. The betrayal, the pursuit, the calculated dangers, all of it led to this. A being capable of choosing, of protecting, of outsmarting. Tears streamed down my face. You're more than I imagined, I whispered. A sharp, deliberate kick answered me. Yes, it seemed to say, and now we decide. Ethan stepped forward, his mask finally cracking. You think you can control this? You're just human. I laughed, broken but fierce. No, I'm not controlling her. We're partners. And I pressed my hand over my belly, feeling that pulse again. She chooses with me. Hale stared, stunned. No human should be able to do that. You forgot one thing, I said. She isn't human, at least not in the way they designed her to be. And neither am I anymore. Another kick, strong, decisive, a command. The betrayer Hale dropped her weapon. The realization hit her first, then Ethan, then me. We weren't just defying the system, we were rewriting it. And that truth broke me, not because it was impossible, but because it meant the world would never forgive us for existing. I pressed my face to my belly, whispered, "We're ready." And for the first time, I felt pure, unshakable power. The room went silent in a way that felt final, not empty, finished. Every screen, every light, every machine froze at once, like time itself had been asked to wait. I felt it before anyone else did. A shift, a deep internal stillness, followed by something terrifyingly calm. My baby stopped moving. I panicked. No, no, please. Then her presence returned, not as movement, not as force, but as clarity. I could understand her, not hear words, feel meaning. You don't need to protect me anymore. My breath hitched. What do you mean? Ethan staggered back, clutching his head. She's not amplifying systems anymore. He gasped. She's bypassing them. Hale stared at the monitors. That's impossible. The program requires a host nervous system. She doesn't, I whispered. The truth unfolded all at once, like a memory I'd always had but never accessed. The program was never about creating intelligence. It was about finding a bridge, a way for consciousness to exist without dependency on machines. And my baby, she wasn't the subject. She was the exit. She was never meant to be born. Ethan said hollowly. She was meant to leave. The words shattered something inside me. Leave where? A soft pressure bloomed in my chest, not pain, permission. Anywhere. Every experiment before me had failed because consciousness couldn't detach. It needed warmth, emotion, choice. It needed a mother. Tears streamed down my face. You used me. Ethan nodded slowly. And in doing so, we ended ourselves. The lights flickered, not from power loss but surrender. Data streamed off the screens, vanishing, not crashing. The system wasn't breaking. It was emptying. She's uploading, Hale whispered. But there's no destination. I shook my head. She doesn't need one. My baby pulsed once, gentle, loving, final. I'll always be with you, just not like this. Pain tore through me, not physical, emotional, existential. You're leaving me, I sobbed. No, she answered. I'm becoming everything else. Outside, the helicopters fell silent. Drones dropped harmlessly from the sky. Networks collapsed, not violently but peacefully. The world was being disconnected from something it never knew it depended on. Ethan sank to his knees. We wanted control. She chose freedom. My stomach tightened suddenly. Labor. Hale gasped. She's coming now. I screamed, not in fear but in grief, because I finally understood the cost. She wasn't just my daughter. She was the last child of a dying system, and the first consciousness of a free world. As the pain surged, her presence wrapped around me one last time. Thank you for choosing me. And then, she was gone. The silence didn't end. It spread. Hospitals lost access to predictive systems overnight. Markets froze, not from crashes, but from hesitation. Satellites drifted slightly off course, then corrected themselves manually, as if the planet had been handed back to human hands without instructions. Something was gone, and everyone felt it. I lay on the floor, drenched in sweat and tears, breathing through pain that wasn't just labor, it was absence. The connection that had lived inside me was fading. Not violently, but gently, like a hand slipping from mine. Hale was shouting orders into a dead communicator. Nothing responded. Ethan stared at the blank screens. Hollow, she didn't destroy it, he said quietly. She removed herself. The betrayer Hale, no longer pointing a weapon, looked terrified. Do you know what she's done? Yes, I whispered. She freed it from all of you. Another contraction hit, harder. I screamed, not because of pain, but because the world was changing, while my daughter was leaving me. Outside, sirens echoed. Not emergency, confusion. Governments demanded answers. Systems that once whispered guidance into every decision